Every day, there are more than 7,000 new HIV infections worldwide. Now, since 1999, there have been more than 8,000 individuals diagnosed with HIV in Boston alone. Now, our best hope to end this epidemic is to find a safe and effective vaccine. But the medical community needs your help. Researchers at Brigham and Women's Hospital are looking for everyday heroes to participate in the HIV vaccine research studies, which could prove vital in the fight against HIV and AIDS. Now, to tell us more about this research, we've invited Dr. Lindsey Baden. He is associate professor at Harvard Medical School, but he's also a principal investigator for the multiple HIV vaccine trials at Brigham and Women's, and Brian Engelson. He is clinical coordinator for Brigham and Women's Vaccine Trials Unit. Both of you working on this. So very interesting. Before we start, a little perspective on the epidemic, Doctor, where we are right now.
So as you suggested, this HIV in the last 30 years has been such a tremendous infection globally. Currently, there are more than 30 million individuals infected globally, 2/3 of which are in sub-Saharan Africa. In the U.S., there's a substantial burden, and as you suggested, in Massachusetts as well, there are tens of thousands of individuals currently infected, and probably about 1,000 individuals newly diagnosed each year.
Right. Now, is this still disproportionately affecting certain communities?
And you're absolutely right. Different communities are differentially impacted, and the incidence rates are higher in communities of color and other parts of society.
Okay. Let's talk about basic prevention and what is there currently out there now, not just prevention, but even in terms of treatment.
Sure. I think most folks are familiar with condom usage. It prevents many STDs, including transmission of virus. For things like treatment, there are several antiretrovirals available for folks who are currently infected and are looking for a way to remain healthy and well without transmitting virus to their partners or loved ones that they're in a relationship.
Now, have we come a long way? I mean, we all look at, I remember, I will never forget, 1992, Magic Johnson came out, and who knew how long? He looks healthy today. Is that part of the research that has really helped bring along some of the innovative stuff?
I mean, I think that what we saw in the late 90s was the emergence of effective antiretroviral therapy and then combination therapy that's highly potent in turning off the virus. And over the last decade, many individuals are living almost normal lives and may well be normal lives in terms of longevity because the antiretrovirals are so effective. And then we start worrying about the routine problems of aging with cholesterol and hypertension that they're not immune to.
Now,
but that requires access to these medicines and daily use of these medicines.
Are they expensive, and is it
it's expensive in that they're not for free, and there is viral resistance. There are side effects. You have to take it every day. You need cold chain or other supply aspects. So it's something that here in Boston we're fairly fortunate to have access. But again, as I mentioned before, with 70–80% of the global burden in sub-Saharan Africa, access to these medications are not as readily available.
Okay, so let's talk a little about Red Ribbon Heroes, right? This is how the community can get involved in participating in trying to find a vaccine, right? We're putting up the information now, but tell me a little bit about what Red Ribbon Heroes means and how folks, why is it important for folks to get involved?
Sure. So the red ribbon is the symbol that most folks have used to promote HIV prevention, and our heroes are everyday folks in the community who are motivated, whether it's a personal feeling towards trying to prevent this terrible disease, or they know someone in their family or general community that they want to support, and they want to support a vaccine to prevent HIV infection. We talked a lot about ways to prevent transmitting virus, but we're actually looking to find a way to eliminate the virus itself. So these heroes help us by being involved in the research, or simply telling others, hey, I support this scientific endeavor, and I think it's a good cause for maybe you or other folks in our community to get involved in.
So you're looking for, if possible, some of our viewers to participate in some of these research studies, right?
I mean, yes. I mean, part of our hope is, if you think about 100 years ago in Boston, polio, diphtheria, tetanus, TB, pneumococcus, smallpox, diseases that we have largely eradicated with smallpox or controlled, and vaccines have played a very large role in that. And our hope is to develop a preventative vaccine against HIV that can be like those childhood vaccines that can essentially block transmission and set us up for an AIDS-free generation. This can only be done with community participation because we have to develop these vaccines in the context of the human immune system and how do we bring out potentially protective immune responses.
So as we put up the information, tell us about these studies. Do folks get compensated? Is there a risk of contracting the virus? What really is, what is needed, or what does someone do when they participate in one of these trials?
So these studies are, we cover all costs. They're free of charge. We compensate individuals for their time. There is no, one cannot get HIV. It's all synthetically made through pharmaceutical, FDA-approved pharmaceutical processes to ensure that we are able to give the safest possible vaccines to hopefully bring out protective immune responses against HIV. And in fact, the science has really advanced where some of the prevention modalities are not straightforward vaccines, like you receive a flu shot and have flu immunity. We actually have developed monoclonal antibodies where one can have immune protective substances sort of infused like antibodies. So different ways that we can elicit or bring out protective responses against HIV. And the only way to sort of move this forward is to engage the community and have participation.
Well, thank you for stopping by and giving us kind of a little brief, because we had needed this. We hadn't talked about AIDS in a while, or the HIV on the show, so we may have you back later on to give us even more information and maybe bring some of those red ribbon heroes on.
That would be great.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. In just a few moments, information on educational process that deals with children, their emotions, and the ability to bounce back from failures. All the details right here on Urban Update.